Do you ever walk into a retail store and wonder how in the world they can make their products so cheap? Why is it that stores like H&M can sell a t-shirt for $3, but a store like Anthropologie will charge $35 for practically the same item? The answers to these questions lies in the manufacturing process. It's no secret that the United States loves to manufacture products overseas. Almost every item you own will probably say, made in China, or whenever you watch a show like Shark Tank or Making the Cut, business owners and investors will often praise the idea of sending production to countries such as Bangladesh or China, since labor laws don't apply there, which makes production easier and cheaper. Nowadays, most fast fashion companies produce their garments abroad, where they can pay a worker the equivalent of $3 per hour, hire children to work in their factories, and have no strict building safety codes to follow. The question then follows, why can American companies not follow the laws that have been put in place to help protect children and provide workers with the proper amount of money to live a healthy life when they produce abroad, but they have to follow all of these guidelines within the United States? How is that fair? Why does the United States only protect its own people when the entire foundation of our country is on treating people equally and fairly? This brings to light the morality of these companies and provides us an example of how important ethics are in society in providing a uniform identity. I believe that the United States should have U.S.-based companies implement American labor laws in all of their facilities, whether or not they are abroad, since we stand for the ethical treatment of all people. You might be asking why it would be important for an American company to obey the United States labor laws when their factory might not be in the U.S. I think the answer can be described in one word: consistency. I truly believe that all people deserve to be treated like people, fairly, respectfully, and without prejudice. The United States is a country that advocates for the rights of people, which is why we have labor laws that prevent child labor, establish safe workspaces for employees, and require companies to pay fair wages so citizens can live off of what they earn. However, since these laws only apply within the confines of the U.S., American-based companies can avoid these laws by producing overseas. This has resulted in the abuse of overseas workforces, which is why we in America should not want to tolerate it. Once again, consistency. What if I told you that your $3 shirt from H&M was sewn by a starving 12-year-old girl in India? Or that in 2013, 1,000 people died in the Rana Plaza factory collapse in Bangladesh? The thought makes my stomach turn, and I hope it does for you as well. The companies responsible for this are American-based. The same Americans who believe in the Declaration of Independence when it says, "We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal." It doesn't work to say that only American citizens deserve to be treated ethically. If we believe this statement for our own people, we have to believe it for all people. Once again, consistency. In order to help realign American companies to the standards they are held to in the United States, I think it would be beneficial for the U.S. to require companies to uphold these labor laws and standards in whatever country they're operating out of. If it's an American company, they should hold to American beliefs, no matter what country they're working out of. This would be incredibly difficult to enact since it's hard to control events that take place abroad. However, there are some steps that could be taken to enforce this change. An example is looking at the accounting within a company to see how much each business is paying its workers abroad. Similar to how each state can determine its own minimum wage, a minimum wage should be set to encompass factories abroad, whether by geographical area or by country, in order to provide a decent wage that allows for proper functioning of life. For example, if a wage of $7.50 per hour provides enough money for a family in India to make a healthy living, then that should be the minimum wage for the area. Another measure that could be taken is requiring factory regulations and safety codes. They would need to be periodically proven by a supervisor or American inspector to be sure that the standards are being met, but it would ultimately prevent destruction. For the Rana Plaza disaster, it was well known by the managers of the factory that the building wasn't safe. However, they ignored it to keep production costs low. Then, its collapse cost 1,000 people their lives. By implementing safety regulations, this would help to minimize incidents like this and save human lives, which should always be considered more valuable than higher profits. Companies should also now not allow child labor at all. In foreign countries, most children end up working because their parents don't make enough to support their families. However, if the wage issue was fixed, then this wouldn't be an issue. Children should grow up with education so that they can eventually become strong adults and improve society. But if they have to work, they will miss that growth. By setting a legal hiring age for American companies operating abroad, such as children under the age of 15 should not be allowed to work, it encourages education and reinforces American values with no child labor. This is only one idea on how to combat these human rights issues in the fast fashion industry, or any large manufacturing organization for that matter, and it certainly isn't an easy one. The negative sides are that it would be costly to implement and hard to oversee since it would be taking place abroad. It can also be debated that it's crossing national powers, as the U.S. could butt heads with whatever country the factory resides in, and it's arguable that it places too much federal control over a business. However, all of these arguments simply fall away when you consider the overall fact that it's not only fair to provide simple benefits to overseas workers, such as decent wages and safe salaries, but, once again, it provides consistency for our country and our beliefs. If companies have to follow the U.S. labor law on American soil, they should also be required to follow them abroad since they are based in the U.S. Thank you.